The voice was really sharp. It was a man talking. He was being very mocking. The voice of this man was sharp. The woman just stopped moving. She was really still. The woman did not say a word. A bunch of merchants looked at her cloak and the way she stood there unsure of herself. One woman leaned forward, her eyes got smaller. "You are that girl, are you not? The one who married a person, all of a sudden the beggar girl who is now rich." Serafina swallowed. "I am here to buy some supplies." This man started laughing. He said, "What supplies are you talking about? Who is going to pay for these supplies? Did you fool some person into marrying you by tricking them?" The word blind really hits harder than any slap. It is like the word blind is something that you cannot see coming. It hurts a lot. When someone calls you blind, it is very painful. The word blind is a strong word and it can be very hurtful. Heat rushed to her face. She said, "My husband." The man cut in. Said, "This person is a fool." He also said, "Or they are desperate." Then he added, "They are probably both." People would laugh at her all the time. It was like they were throwing stones at her back. The laughter followed her everywhere. It really hurt the girl. Laughter was something that people did to her, not with her. The woman went to the store. She left without buying anything from the store. She did not purchase a thing. The woman just left the store. The girl did not cry until the girl reached the edge of the forest. She just kept walking. The girl did not cry. The girl was really strong until the girl got to the edge of the forest. Then the girl started to cry. Alaric had a feeling the moment she walked back in. Something just did not feel right to Alaric. She returned and Alaric knew it, something was definitely off. She walked quietly and she was being too careful, like she was scared that the walls would think badly of her. The walls might judge her. That thought made her move even more quietly. She did not want the walls to judge her. The man said to the person, "You did not bring the herbs." He said this in a way. The herbs were something they needed. The woman said she forgot. That was not true. She was not telling the truth when she said that. The woman said this. It was a lie. The woman claimed she forgot. The man turned toward the woman's voice. The man always turned toward the woman's voice. He would do this every time he heard the woman speak. The woman's voice was what he was listening for. "Serafina," he said, speaking slowly and carefully. "Serafina, what happened to you? Who hurt Serafina?" Her hands were clenched up inside her sleeves. She said, "It does not matter." The room got really dark. The candles were flickering even though there was not any wind. The candles. It was really strange because the air was completely still. The candles just kept on flickering. "It really matters," he. For the first time his voice sounded serious and a little scary. "Because the world is not allowed to hurt the things that I care about and want to keep safe the things that re under my protection." She looked up fast because something startled her. Protection. That word was something nobody had ever called her. It was a thing for her to hear someone say that word to describe her. The word was not something people usually used to talk about her. That night the full moon came up. It looked really red. The full moon was so red it was beautiful. Serafina sat outside Alaric's chamber like she always did now. She did this without thinking about it. The thing is, Serafina just felt like she had to be near Alaric on these nights. Something inside of Serafina would not let her leave Alaric by himself when it was dark outside. Serafina did not really understand why she felt this way, she just knew that she had to stay with Alaric. Something was happening inside, a kind of power was stirring. This power was inside. It was starting to move. Inside the power stirred. Ancient. Awake. Alaric stood at the window. He had taken off his blindfold. Now his eyes were glowing like embers in the moonlight. The moon was shining brightly. It made Alaric's eyes look really strange. Alaric's eyes were glowing with a gentle light like the embers of a fire that was burning slowly. He was not blind. He had never been blind. The man saw everything that was happening around him. He saw all the people and all the things. Everything was very clear to him. The man saw everything. What he saw now was the market, through the eyes of spies and shadows and blood-bound servants. He saw the market this way. The market was what he saw. The insults. The laughter. The fear on her face. The vampire king's jaw got really tight. He said to himself, they have finally noticed her. The forest outside the manor was really coming alive. It was like the forest outside the manor was answering back. The trees in the forest outside the manor started to make a lot of noise. The three men never came home that night. The three men just did not return home that night. What happened to the three men is still a mystery. Pause. He told me that this thing happens from time to time. He said I should not ask any questions about it. There was something in the way he spoke that made her think twice about what she was doing. Something in his tone warned her not to do it. She bowed her head. Said, I accept the offer. The woman said this with a voice. She said, "I accept," and that was it. The decision was made by the woman when she said, "I accept." The moment the words came out of her mouth, the candles suddenly burned strongly. The servants fell down to their knees. They were really scared. The servants did not know what to do. The servants just stayed on their knees. Alaric's lips curved. It was not a smile. It was something that seemed older, like it had been around for a long time. Alaric's lips just have turned up, and that was it. The thing that his lips did, it was older than a smile. It is finally done. The thing that we were talking about is now finished. Everything is complete. The task is done. Serafina did not notice the shadows leaning in towards Serafina's friend like they were trying to listen to him. The shadows just seemed to be hanging around him. They were not really bending down or anything like that. Serafina thought it was weird that the shadows seemed to be moving on their own. Serafina did not see them actually bend towards him like they were trying to be close to him. She did not notice that his eyes quickly turned red for a second before they closed again. His eyes turned red. Then they closed. She missed the thing with his eyes. His eyes were red for a moment. Then they were closed. Being married to Lord Alaric was not what she thought it would be like. Marriage to Lord Alaric was really different from what she had in mind. She never thought that marriage to Lord Alaric would turn out this way. The manor was really quiet. It was so quiet that it felt strange. The servants were walking around without making any noise. You did not see mirrors in the manor. The clocks in the manor never made a ticking sound. And Alaric, her husband, was a contradiction. The man was really quiet during the day. He was fair to her. He always listened when she had something to say. He never yelled at her, not once. The man never touched her unless she said it was okay. One time she burned her hand while she was cooking. The man took care of it himself. He put a bandage on her hand. His fingers were cool and steady while he did it. The man was really gentle with her burned hand. The woman asked this question one time. She was really surprised. She said, "Why do you care?" She looked at the person with a lot of surprise in her eyes. The woman was very curious about why this person cared much. He said that neglect is a form of cruelty, and he meant it in a straightforward way. The man replied that neglect is cruelty. At night when the moon is full, things are really different. The full moon has an effect on everything. That was when the man lost his sight completely. He went blind. So the woman thought to herself at that moment, the first full moon. She woke up to the sound of him screaming. Not in pain. In rage. The walls really shook. The windows rattled loudly. The air had a taste like iron from the metal factory. The walls shook again. It was scary. She ran to his room. Found him down on his knees. His eyes were covered with a cloth. The veins on his skin looked really dark against his skin. She saw the dark veins standing out on his skin as he knelt there, his eyes covered with that black cloth. The man told him to leave. He said it in a voice. She did not. She went to him. Put her hand on top of his hand very softly. The woman said that she is here. The room just stopped moving. Everything in the room went still. It was like time stood still in that room. The room was still. The man slowed down. Then he stopped moving too. Later when the sun came up, he asked her one question. "You weren't afraid?" She shook her head. "I have been afraid of things my life. The fear does not scare me anymore. Fear is something I am used to now. The fear of things is not scary to me anymore." Something inside of the man shifted. He felt it, this thing that was changing. It was like a weight had moved from one side to the other. The man was not really sure what was happening. He knew that something inside of him had definitely shifted. Serafina started to notice things that she had not seen before. She would see Serafina, the girl herself, looking at these things in a way. Serafina was really paying attention to the things around her now. The servants bowed to him. They did not look up at him. They kept their heads down when they bowed to him. It was like they were not allowed to look up at him when the servants bowed to him. The forest never did anything to her. The forest was always kind to her. She loved the forest, and the forest never harmed her. I've seen some wounds that healed fast. These wounds did not take a lot of time to heal. The wounds healed quickly. I think it is very strange when wounds heal that fast. The wounds that healed quickly are very interesting to me. People who were mean to her outside the gates just disappeared from the city. It is really strange that those strangers who insulted her outside the gates were nowhere to be found in the city on. The city was suddenly empty of those strangers who insulted her outside the gates. How Alaric watched her even when he was supposed to be blind. That is really something to think about, the way Alaric watched her. What is it about Alaric watching her that is so interesting? The fact that Alaric watched her even when he could not see. One night she said to me, "Are you really blind when the moon is full?" She was not really serious. She was also very curious about this. He turned around to face her voice. He did this carefully, making sure to move precisely towards the sound of her voice. Too precisely. The man told his wife to go to sleep. He said it in a soft voice. His wife needed to get some rest. The man said, "Sleep, wife," to help her relax. The way he spoke was not very nice. It seemed like something bad was going to happen because his tone held something ancient, hungry, and deeply afraid of losing her. Serafina had no idea that she was now the wife of the vampire king. She was still in the dark about this part of her life. The vampire king was her husband. She did not even know it. The woman had no idea that her blindness was not real. It was a lie that was told to protect her, not the person who told it. The blindness was a lie to keep her safe. The woman did not know this yet. She had no idea what was going to happen. The woman was completely in the dark about this. She was meant to be his queen. The night the king picked her was a special night. The king chose her on that night. It was like nothing else mattered. The king chose her. She became his queen. That night was the night when the king decided that she would be his queen, the night the king chose her. The time Serafina was treated really badly in front of everyone as Lord Alaric's wife, she found out something that really hurt her. Serafina was very upset when this happened. This was a truth about being the wife of Lord Alaric that Serafina had to deal with. Sometimes protection took a while to get. The protection did not always show up away. You had to wait for the protection to arrive. The city market was really loud and crowded. It was like people were watching her every move and judging her. Serafina looked down, walked quickly between the stalls. She held a piece of paper in her hand. This paper had a list on it that Alaric had written for Serafina himself. Alaric trusted Serafina now. He trusted Serafina with his money. He trusted Serafina to make choices. He even trusted Serafina to represent his household. That trust made her chest hurt in a way that the girl did not understand at that time. The trust was really affecting her chest. The girl felt this pain in her chest because of that trust. Hey. The girl who married a blind man. This is a story about a girl who did something strange. She married a man who could not see. The girl who married a man must have been very brave. The girl who married a man had to take care of him every day. She had to help the man with everything. The girl who married a man loved him very much. She did not mind taking care of the man at all. The girl who married a man was happy with her life. She was happy to be with the man. The night that Serafina collapsed on the church steps, nobody even stopped to help her. People just kept on walking by Serafina as she lay there on the church steps. It was a sad thing to see Serafina like that. Serafina was all alone on those church steps. The rain got her sweater all wet. It stuck to her skin. It felt like another problem she had to deal with. The city lights were blurry because of the tears in her eyes. She did not wipe away the tears. This was not because she was being strong. It was because she was really tired. She was tired of asking people for things. The rain soaked her sweater. It was like the city was making her feel even worse. She was tired of telling people what was going on with her. She was tired of nobody noticing her unless they wanted something from her. The city lights and the rain and her sweater all made her feel like she was not important. She had a home at one point in her life. Her mother used to braid her hair and sing those lullabies that she can barely remember now. She used to think that being kind to people was enough to get by in the world. Kindness was what her mother taught her, and she believed that kindness from people would always be there to help her, that kindness from people would keep her safe, that the kindness of people was what she needed to survive in the world, and that the kindness of the world would always be enough. The thing she believed in had taken everything away from her. That belief had cost her everything she had. Now she was homeless. She was 19 years old. The girl had to sleep wherever she could find a stone to lie on because that stone was warm enough to pretend it cared about her. The church doors were still closed. They did not open. The church doors stayed like that. Serafina pressed her forehead against the marble steps and whispered a prayer that she hoped someone would hear. She was not asking for food. She was not asking for money. All she wanted was one thing. That was all she was praying for, that one thing that Serafina really needed. I really hope that tomorrow is not the same as today. I want tomorrow to be a day. Tomorrow should be different from today. The thing I am looking for is a change. I want that change to start tomorrow. I wish that tomorrow will be different. She did not know that tomorrow would belong to a king. The king was going to have a day tomorrow. Tomorrow was really going to be the king's day. The king would own tomorrow. In the morning, the city had already made up its mind about what the city thought she was worth. The city decided that was her value, and the city was not going to change its mind about what the city thought she was worth. Move. The voice was really sharp. Sounded very impatient. A man who was wearing a suit that looked very neat and tidy was standing over her. He looked at her with a lot of disgust on his face. He said to her, "You cannot sleep here because you are scaring the customers of this place." Serafina pushed herself up. Her joints were really stiff from the cold. She said, "I will go," in a voice. Serafina always spoke in a voice now. If she was too loud she would get in trouble. Loud noises were not. That meant punishment for Serafina. Then she felt really dizzy. The whole world seemed to tilt to one side. She had to grab the railing to stop herself from falling to make sure the furniture store employee she was okay. The furniture store employee she was holding on tight to the railing because the furniture store employee she was feeling dizzy and the world was spinning around the furniture store employee. The man laughed in a way. He said, "This is so typical of you. You always cause a scene." She wanted to scream that she had not chosen this life. She worked hard until her cafe had to shut down. The cafe was her livelihood. She even sold her mother's necklace so she could pay the hospital bills. Tried, but life just kept taking things away from her and never gave her anything back. Life was really tough on the cafe owner. The cafe owner tried her best. Life kept taking and never returning anything to the cafe owner. She just bowed her head. Walked away from the situation. The woman did not say a word, she just walked away. That was how Serafina survived. She did it by shrinking down. Serafina found that shrinking was the way for her to make it through. So that is what Serafina did, she kept on shrinking. The notice came 3 days later. It was the notice that I had been waiting for. It finally arrived after 3 days. The notice was something that I had to see for myself. Now that the notice was in my hands, I could finally do something about it. The notice was stuck to a community board near the soup kitchen. It was not straight, it was a bit torn. Nobody else seemed to notice the notice, they just walked by. "I'm looking for a wife. Private residence. We do not need any dowry. The marriage is what matters to us, not the dowry. We are looking for a wedding with the person we love and dowry is not a requirement for us. Marriage of convenience. Applicant must be kind. No photo. No name. No explanation." At the bottom, in smaller handwriting, "Husband is blind." People laughed when they saw her reading the book. She was really into the book. The book was very interesting to her. People laughed at her because they thought the book was silly. But she did not care, she loved reading the book. One woman said with a laugh, "Blind?" She thought that was a bad thing. "That is a curse, not a husband," she said. The woman meant that being blind is something you would not wish on someone, it is certainly not something you would want in a husband. Another lady shook her head. "You really think a blind man would want a girl like you?" Serafina folded the paper and her fingers were shaking really badly while she was doing it. She was folding the paper with these fingers that would not stop trembling. The paper was being folded by Serafina. It was clear that she was really nervous. People did not get it. The people just did not understand. Being blind meant that there was no judgment. It was like people who are blind do not judge others because they cannot see them. Blind people just go by what they feel and hear about the person, which is the blind way of looking at things. The fact that someone is blind really meant that they did not make any judgment about someone based on how they look. Blind people are not judgmental because of their blindness. Being blind meant that I did not see her shoes, I did not see her hollow cheeks, I did not see the shame of the woman. Blindness kept me from seeing the woman and her torn shoes and her hollow cheeks and the shame that the woman felt. The woman had torn shoes. The woman had hollow cheeks and the woman had shame. Being blind actually meant safety to me. Blind people like being blind because blind people feel safe when they are blind. That night she thought about what she wanted to do. Then she made her decision. She really made her decision that night. The manor was far from the city. It was hidden behind iron gates and some very old trees. These trees were so quiet. They still made a soft sound even when the air was completely still. The manor stood there behind these trees and iron gates. Serafina had almost turned back twice. She thought to herself that a place like Serafina's home was not a place like this. No place like this really belonged to someone like Serafina. The gate opened before she had a chance to knock on it. The gate just swung open by itself before she could even knock on the gate. A servant was standing there waiting for her. The servant was really pale. Did not say a word. The servant's eyes looked weird in the light. The servant then said, "You are the applicant." It wasn't a question. The woman nodded her head. "Follow." When I walked inside, the air felt really heavy. It was not a feeling, but I could tell something was there. The walls seemed to be watching me like they had eyes. The woman was taken into a big room and the moonlight was shining all over the dark floors. There was a man standing in the middle of the room. He was wearing silk clothes. The man looked very important. He was not moving at all. The man was just standing there. The man's eyes were closed. The man said, "I am Lord Alaric," in a voice. Lord Alaric's voice was really deep. He seemed to be in control of his emotions. Lord Alaric did not sound very friendly. He said, "You know why you are here," to the person. Lord Alaric's words were simple and direct. "Yes," Serafina whispered. He kept talking. Said, "You are not going to marry me because you love me. You will get food to eat, a place to live. I will keep you safe. In return you have to take care of my home and be my wife, but in name. There will be no romance between us. I do not expect anything like that from you. You will be the lady of the house. That is all. I want to make it clear that our marriage will be about things like food and shelter and protection, not about love. You will manage my household and people will think you are my wife, but that is all it will be." She swallowed. "What about your blindness?" "She is the queen." The king was a man, but then he learned to be humble. He found out that being humble is a thing for a king like him, the king. And the moral of the story was clear to everyone. It did not matter if you were a human or a vampire, the message was the same, for humans and vampires. Having power does not make someone of love. Love is not about the power that someone has. It is about the person and how they treat others. Power is something that someone can have, but it does not make them worthy of love. Love is for the person, not for the power that they have. Kindness really does make a difference. Kindness can change people's lives. I think kindness is very important. We should all try to show kindness to people. Kindness is what the world needs more of. Serafina Nocturne never forgot the girl that Serafina Nocturne used to be. She was a person back then. Serafina Nocturne remembers that girl clearly. The girl that Serafina Nocturne used to be is still in her memory, and because of that, she ruled forever.